We just started yesterday a new perek. It's chapter 5. The Mishnah was like a whole Amud, very long Mishnah. But the Gemara, which is today's learning, says like this. The Mishnah told us that just like the water inspects her, it does the same thing to him. What it says, Isai, when it says him, Leman, who are we talking about? If you want to say it's talking about the husband, that he somehow gets checked as well, or inspected to see if he's innocent or not. Baal my oven, what did the husband do? The one here in question is the suspected adulteress, the Sotah, which is his wife. And if you want to say that there is a clause here, that if he has an avera, meaning he himself did something wrong, then the water will check him. If he himself has some kind of avera, will the water check him? One second. It's not about checking to see if he has an avera, then it will work. We know already that if he has something, a sin within himself, then she is not going to be tested by the waters. The waters won't work if he himself sinned in a similar manner. So it can't be referring to the husband. But Tanya, we learned that the pasuk says that he, the husband, will be exonerated from any sin, which means you're not going to blame him for taking her to be tested. But at the same time, we know that it means something else. It means that he has to be innocent from sin. The Gemara learns is when the man is innocent from sin, then the water will inspect and check his wife. So, and if he's not, then it won't inspect the wife. So we see clearly that it can't be referring to the husband. The Mishnah can't be referring to the husband because then it won't work anyways. There's nothing to test here. The elul bayil. So we must say that the Mishnah is referring to the one that she sinned with, that it's going to inspect him at the same time. In fact, if that's the case, listen to in the end of the Mishnah, he learned that Kashem Sha'asur Labal, Kachasur Labayil. He doesn't say Oisai him. It says just like she is forbidden to be with her husband because she sinned, she also cannot go now live with the one that she sinned with. But so if that's what you're referring to at the beginning of the Mishnah, don't say him. Oisai, say Labayil, where you refer to at the end of the Mishnah. So the Gemara answers Lo'elam Labayil. The Mishnah is referring to the Bayil, to the one that she sinned with. The Reisha, why does he use a different term and say him and not the Bayil in the beginning of the Mishnah? Because I did the Tana Isai, because he already said he's using a term referring to her, Isa as opposed to Isha, she or her. So he says also Isai. But in the Seifa, I did Tana Baal, Tana Bayil. In the Seifa, the way the halacha that he's teaching, he uses the word Baal. So when it comes to Bayil, he also says Bayil. But it means, the beginning of the Mishnah as well, it means the one that she sinned with. I guess that would be called an adulterer. The Mishnah learned, because it says ubo 2 times. The Gemara asks, what's exactly the limud? Is it because it says bo twice? Or is it because it says bo ubo, is extra vav? Bo ubo kamar, ubo ubo kamar. The Gemara says, I'll answer this based on a different learning that we have from extra word. It says over there, vinitma, so that's the limud, the extra vav, not the extra word. We're still going to ask the same question over there. Nitma kamar, is it because nitma vinitma kamar, or is it because the extra vav? Because it says 3 times uvo. And then by nitma also you could say the same thing. Is it because of the extra word, or is it because of the extra vav? Or the difference of the vav? Tashma, because in the Seifa of the Mishnah, it says 2 times in the parsha of Nitma, Echad Labal, Echad Labayil. One comes to teach you that the husband, she can't be with the husband. The other one, she can't be with the one that she sinned with. Miklal. From here is a raya that Rabbi Akiva vavi kadarish, that Rabbi Akiva learns halachas from an extra vav. Torah chooses to use a vav in one place, not on the other. It's coming to teach you something. In our case, it's including not just the husband, but also the one that she sinned with. Hilkach, because we have this principle that Rabbi Akiva learns the vavim, Rabbi Akiva shisa kroi ksivi. There are 6 psukim that says here. Chad l'tzava adida v'chad l'tzava adidei. One is that we command him, the command to him, to her, and the other one is to him. Chad l'asiyah adida v'chad l'asiyah adidei. The other one is that we actually do administer this whole testing mechanism to her and to him. And chad l'yadiyah adida v'chad l'yadiyah adidei. And the other third time it said, the third pasuk that we have is to tell you the order of how it works, how the punishment happens, and so on, for her and for him. The Rabbi plus a Sivi, and Rabbi doesn't learn that there's 6 of them, but rather there's only 3. Chad letzava, v'chad la'asiyah, v'chad liyadiyah. One is to command us, one is to actually administer it, and one of the process, the order of how it's done. The Rabbi says, so the Gemara says, if Rabbi says this, so how does he know that it works for him as well? The pasuk is only referring to her. How do you know the same thing applies to him? Nafkele, the answers he learns it out. When the pasuk talks about the punishments that happen, it doesn't say feminine. It says stomach. The stomach bursts. The thigh falls. It's talking about him. Whose stomach? It's the sinners. His. Right? Who says, why did you decide that it means his? Maybe it's referring to her. And now how is Rabbi going to learn that it applies to him as well? So the answer is, it says 2 times. When it says bitna in the feminine, it refers to her. But this time when it says it again, and again, you could learn it either way, but because it says it extra time, and it doesn't say masculine or feminine, we learn that it refers to him. The other Tana, which is Rabbi Yahud, the Mudulakein, this is telling you the Mudulakein, the Betem Bereisha, that the Kain lets her know that first it's going to start with the stomach and then it's going to go to the thigh. The reason for that is, we had this earlier in Gemara, we said that the water is going to work in a certain way, and the pasuk says first it's Yerech and then Beten, but so the Kain clarifies that it's going to be first the stomach and then the thigh, so you shouldn't say that these waters are not real, she died from something else. The Idach, and the other one, if so, it should say clearly hers, and my Beten v'yarech, so maybe this whole thing comes for this reason. So we learn both of these things. Number one, the order of how the punishment happens. At first it's Beten and then Yarech. And secondly, that it applies to him and to her. Whether you dash it from the Vavin or you don't use the Vavin, either way we have this limud to prove what the Mishnah is saying, that just like the water inspects him and he gets her and she gets punished, so does he as well. Mishnah told us a teaching from Rabbi Yeshua, the name of Zechariah. The 3 times it says in the parsha, why do you have to have 3 times if she was defiled? Twice without a vav, once with a vav. One is that she is now prohibited to be with a husband. Second one is that she's prohibited to be with the adulterer. And thirdly, that she is prohibited to have truma. If she was a kohen, if she was a daughter of a kohen. Normally, if she marries a Yisrael, so now she doesn't have the status of Kehenes anymore, and she can't eat truma. But now, being that she can't marry her husband, she can't be with him anymore, she doesn't go back to that status, she can't have truma either. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel says, I don't need a pasuk to teach you this, I can learn it out from Kal V'chemer. Just like a grusha, which we say, she's allowed to have truma, but she's also for the kohen. This one that's also for truma, of course she's also for a kohen. You don't need a special limit for that. So why does she drink? If she didn't drink, why? Why do you have to tell us both ways? If she actually sins, so that she doesn't drink, because she's tummy. There's no question. The whole point of giving her the water is because we're not sure if she's tummy. But if she's actually tummy, meaning she sinned, then why should she drink? And if she didn't, why would we give her the waters? The pasuk teaches you that the fact that she's suspected and we're not sure, that already puts her in the situation that she can't be with her husband. Obviously, she can't be with the boy because she's still married, but she is already in that status where she's prohibited and from truma as well. In fact, the Gemara Mikanat Hadon says the Gemara Mikanat Hadon l'sharetz. From here, you can also learn in regards to a sheretz, which is one of the 8 insects that a person become impure if he touches it. So the Gemara learns like this. We're going to learn, just like by Sotah, we say that a suffix, we're not sure if she'd sinned yet. She's already prohibited. So we'll learn from that the same applies to a sheretz if it's a Sotah, if it's a suffix, if you touched it. Just like a Sotah, which you didn't say, if it's by mistake, you treat it the same way as if it was on purpose. Right? If she sinned by mistake, she doesn't get this whole process. And we don't say that if she was forced, somehow she has the same status as if she did it willingly. Obviously, there's a difference. But nonetheless, when it comes to a suffix, we're not sure. By a Sotah, which we're more lenient if it was by mistake, and we're more lenient if it was forced. But if we're not sure if she did it or not, then right away we consider her asur. Sheretz, a sheretz, which we did say that even if it was by mistake, you're tamei just like if it was on purpose. And if it was forced, you're asur just like if it was done. You're tamei just like if you did it on purpose. Is it not the case that that if someone did it by mistake, that it would be just like you did it? In other words, consider him tamei if you're not sure. Not by mistake. I'm sorry. Suffix is if you're not sure if he did it or not. From based on what you're saying, in other words, if you're not, because you didn't learn that you're tamei her from a suffix, the sheretz from a suffix, just like Sotah happens only in a yachid. Technically speaking, the sin of Sotah happens in seclusion. You should also say that sheretz, regarding the suffix, should be only if it happened in a private domain. It's somewhat of a rhetorical question, that Sotah that has das, you could ask the woman if she sinned or not. We show to ask, not that she's going to say the truth, but you could technically ask her. Similarly, you would only apply this in a case where you could ask the sheretz, which obviously you can ask the sheretz if he did it or not. From here we learned, and here you have a principle that if you could ask the person or the thing what happened, then if it's in Rishus HaYachid, then the suffix tamei, and the Rishus suffix is tahar. Which this applies to a sheretz, you can't ask the sheretz if it was tamei or not. So bein Rishus HaYachid, and Rishus HaMasvekei tahar. Rabbi Shmuel learns from Rabbi Akiva on the name of Rabbi Akiva, Truma Mahader Le Iu Kohuna. The Surah Rabbi Akiva Kohuna Minale, and how does Rabbi Akiva know about Kohuna? If you want to say that for Kohuna you don't need a pasuk because it's obvious that now she's not able to have a Truma anymore. Because you made her, you decided that a suffix zaina is going to be like a zaina, so Truma Namel for Truma also you shouldn't need a pasuk. Because a suffix zaina kizena. Tomorrow, Mr. Shem will continue how Rabbi Akiva learns this.